Let's go.
Hey everyone, I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, coming at you guys today with another video. And if you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video or go live. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about a new upcoming Christmas action adventure movie called Red One. This movie is going to be released in movie theaters worldwide, and the movie stars Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans, Lucy Liu, and J.K. Simmons as your four main leading actors for the movie. And Red One has a budget of roughly around $200 to $250 million, not counting before marketing. So Red One went into pre-production around early 2023, and they announced that Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans were going to be the main leading actors for the film. Then nothing was heard about this movie for quite some time until we actually got closer to the 2024 election season. So if you guys don't remember this, back in 2020, election season, Dwayne Johnson was a very proud, open supporter for Joe Biden. And then come during the 2024 election, he was on an interview. I can't remember what it was. I think it was either Joe Rogan or it was a Fox News interview where he had actually talked about how much that he hated the fact that he actually got into politics and was actually talking about them openly the way he does. He had ended up saying something like this: he's just going to keep it between him and the ballots box, actually. So basically admitting that, you know, people like him really shouldn't be talking about politics because all it does is just divides the audience. And he was really trying to do that back in 2020. So after Dwayne Johnson basically criticized the fact that he was openly speaking about politics the way he was back in 2020, there was a article hit piece that came out from The Wrap, and The Wrap basically went into Dwayne Johnson and a lot of the drama that was unfolding on Red One. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys heard about this. So the main things were he was chronically late. We're talking like 7 to 8 hours, which I guess by what they said, ballooned the film's budget past the $200 million mark. This is something similar that happened with Fast X, where basically Justin Lin quit on the production, who was the director of multiple Fast and Furious movies, because he just couldn't work with Vin Diesel. And then the days that it took to actually find a new director, that ballooned the film's budget. A very similar situation that happened with Red One. So after that, you know, we also had the other accusation of him basically peeing in water bottles and just being just difficult to work with on set. So it came out, the fact that Chris Evans defended Dwayne Johnson, and Dwayne Johnson, the only thing that he admitted to was he was just urinating in water bottles. But what's crazy is that if he admitted to urinating in water bottles, then is it too out of the realm of possibility he was chronically late? I mean, I know Hollywood can have media outlets make up lies about people. I know that firsthand, right? But if the guy is basically admitting to one of the things he was accused of, then is it too far out of the realm of possibility he could have did this other thing? That's up for you to decide, right? So then trailers ended up coming out for this movie, and I think the trailers actually look fun. This is a movie that I am potentially going to be seeing at my movie theater, and I will be doing an episode of Full Day of Going to the Movie Theater on this movie if I do happen to see it at my movie theater. And this movie already got an international release, and this movie only made, just internationally so far, from its very limited release so far, it only made roughly about around $26 to $28 million. Another thing to factor in when you're talking about this movie is the writer of the movie, Chris Morgan. You guys are going to be very familiar with Chris Morgan because Chris Morgan has actually wrote various Fast and Furious movies, and obviously I love Fast and Furious. I love the Fast and Furious franchise. I'm one of its biggest supporters. But let's be honest here, those movies are very so good they're bad or so bad they're good kind of thing. So if you were coming into this movie hoping for some well written ultimate cinema award winning movie, probably not going to happen. And obviously whenever I see Chris Morgan writing a movie, I kind of know that, hey, we're going to be in for like a Morbius level movie where like it's going to be the most absolute movie of all time, truly cinema of all time. Red One, I promise you guys, will be one of the movies of all time. And if we're going to be talking about Chris Evans, has Chris Evans really starred in a major blockbuster basically since Avengers Endgame? I know he was in that movie with Ana de Armas. I have to watch that eventually. And I know that he was in Lightyear. And I actually liked Lightyear, honestly. I thought it got very, very fair. I thought it got very unfair marketing from Disney and how people were talking about it with the whole gay kiss. And the gay kiss wasn't even that big of a deal, honestly. It's basically, it cuts out so fast, the characters don't even honestly kiss in the movie. Like, you guys, I don't lie to you. I saw Lightyear, I enjoyed it, thought it was actually pretty good for what I thought going in. And, I mean, Lightyear failed for multiple different reasons, but Chris Evans was a main reason why it failed, right? Lucy Liu, I know I've seen her in many other things. What a gorgeous Asian lady. I love me some Panda Express. You know, I love me some egg rolls, right? And J.K. Simmons, obviously, he's been in various movies that have did pretty so-so at the box office recently. He was in No Way Home, and obviously that's going to be $1 billion hit because that's Spider-Man. So, also, even with Dwayne Johnson hasn't really had many box office hits. I'm talking like where they made a lot of money outside of like Jumanji movies and Fast and Furious, right? Because the last movie I saw from Dwayne Johnson at the movie theaters was the adventure movie. It was the one with Emily Blunt. It was the one about it was Jungle Cruise. Yeah, I saw Jungle Cruise at the theaters, and that bombed essentially as well. So these guys, all of them, haven't started major blockbusters that have made gang loads of money in a very, very long time. So then we're going to go over Dwayne Johnson's film streak, actually. I'll be shocked if Dwayne Johnson's new $250 million blockbuster snaps his 5-year cold streak, not even including the marketing. So the reason why I mention that is because this movie has a budget of around, what, $200 to $250 million? That means you guys already know that marketing budget's probably around $80 to $100 million, a $300 million production. The break-even point is probably around, like, $700 million, $650 million lowest. I mean, this is a Christmas movie coming out in Thanksgiving, and, you know, I get it's holiday season, but I really honestly don't know if this movie's going to be a success at all. Red One is a risky box office bet for Dwayne Johnson, which doubts about its success given his recent box office slump. He's been a box office slump for a while. That's why he came back to Fast and Furious. Do you guys think it's a coincidence he came back to the Fast and Furious franchise when he openly made it very publicly him and Vin Diesel were done, and then after Black Adam flopped at the box office, surprisingly, Dwayne Johnson comes back. It's crazy, right? With a massive $250 million budget, Red One needs to make at least $500 million to be considered a financial success. And that's also putting it pretty lightly, because if the marketing budget, like I said, is around $100 million, this film's going to be taking in about $700 million. Also, if you have a budget of roughly around $250 million and you're considering the movie a financial success at $500 million, come on. Like, no, the movie needs to be hitting at like around $800 million. Like, studios, when they put in like $250 million for a movie, they don't want to get back like $500 million. And keep in mind, the reason why that number on the surface level is disingenuous is because theaters all take their cuts, distribution costs, it's going to be released internationally, all those theaters got to get their, cuts. Despite potential struggles with Red One, Dwayne Johnson has a surefire hit lined up with Moana 2, recently releasing shortly after. Yeah, that's true. Moana was very, very big. What did Moana make at the box office? I truly don't remember. I never saw Moana. Moana, 2016 animated film. What did Moana make at the box office? Okay, it made $687 million. I can see why they made a sequel to it. It made a lot of money. And keep in mind, the box office landscape in 2016 is nothing compared to what it is now. Red One was supposed to be Dwayne Johnson's next big blockbuster hit, but I'll be shocked if it manages to snap his current cold streak at the box office. Once known for being franchise Viagra and injecting IP with financial upside, The Rock became a one-man solution for struggling franchises and blockbusters over the years. His sustained popularity with audiences helped make Red One the latest attempt for him to launch a new original franchise. The Christmas-themed blockbuster comes from Amazon Studios and holds an exclusive theatrical release for November 2024, which will further test Dwayne Johnson's box office credibility. The Rock is no stranger to delivering massive box office hits with original ideas or movies based on IP that otherwise had not been tackled. Even if I didn't enjoy every movie, like San Andreas, Rampage, or Skyscraper, I thought Rampage was kind of fun. I liked it. There are clear examples of his star power working wonders at the box office. It is still easy to look at him and see a bankable actor who revived multiple franchises and found success away from them, even with The Rock's biggest box office bombs. But after the last few years, I have doubts about him doing it again with Red One. Yeah, I mean, Dwayne Johnson is supposed to be one of the biggest movie stars in the world, right? And he couldn't even get Black Adam, a movie that he was very passionate about doing and had a lot of creative control and pretty much ruined a lot of it with how much he wanted control over it. Movie barely hit $400 million. It made less than $400 million. It only made like $389 million, honestly. The cold, hard truth for Dwayne Johnson is that his standing as a consistent box office star has faded in recent years. The last time I can honestly say that he was the star of a big blockbuster that performed well at the box office was in 2019. He delivered two notable hits that year, Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw and Jumanji: The Next Level, which both made over $750 million worldwide. That was the end of a dominant run of roughly 6 years where his only real misstep was 2017's Baywatch. Oh, I watched Baywatch. Oh my god, that movie is trash. Since 2019, Dwayne Johnson has not been the lead in any movie that has lived up to his reputation. Part of this is due to the C-19 and theaters shutting down, but which is bullshit. It's just many different factors. That's just always such a cope. In 2024, we're talking about some stupid freaking oh my god, so dumb. But the rise of streaming and poorly reviewed blockbusters are also factors. Johnson's cold streak at the box office originally began with Jungle Cruise release in 2021, which I saw. I don't think it was a terrible movie. I don't think it was a great movie, but I can see why no one went to see it at all. The marketing was very bad for it, and the trailers just weren't good either. The live-action Disney movie based on the theme park ride only made $210 million against a $200 million budget, although it did add at least $45 million in sales through Disney Plus via Deadline. It still goes down as a financial loss. I mean, that right there makes no sense. How did it add 45? Oh, it was the day and date release. They were doing that. Okay, I was going to say, that makes no sense, but I remember back in 2021, they were doing the whole, you could basically pay for like Disney Plus premium access to see a new movie if you didn't want to go to the theaters. The more surprising development to me was Dwayne Johnson's cold streak ending in 2022 with two DC movies. DC League of Super Pets made $200 million at the box office, which likely means it broke even. But that total was still frankly underwhelming considering the DC branding, star-studded voice cast, and how often animated movies can hit much bigger thanks to being family-friendly entertainment. Yeah, no one remembers League of Super Pets. It just came out and went to the box office and no one cared for it. I saw trailers for it, but, if you're talking like DC fans and, I would say that most of them are not really interested in seeing a DC movie, especially an animated one, which is regarded as very good. DC's animation is regarded as very good amongst the DC fans, even the ones that don't like the live action stuff, right? People don't want a DC animated movie based around like dogs or cats. I'm sorry, that's not going to be attractive to anybody. I'm pretty sure that's why it failed, right? It only got worse with Black Adam's box office, finishing at $390 million, resulting in conflicting reports of the film's profitability or failure. No, it failed. It actually fucking failed. Horribly. If anyone thinks Black Adam was profitable, you are a crackhead, and I will never listen to anything you say about box office numbers. You are an idiot if you think that movie made profit. You're stupid. You're fucking dumb. Fast X is Dwayne Johnson's highest grossing movie since 2019, but he only appeared in the post-credit scene. Yes. So in Fast X, in the post-credit scene, he did appear, because he's the one that killed the main bad guy in Fast 5 for killing his team, right? But that doesn't really count, though. He was not really in it. He was only in it for, like, less than 2 seconds. So that's I don't count that. To help put Dwayne Johnson's cold streak in perspective, he is currently in the midst of his longest drought in over a decade without leading a role in a movie that made over $400 million. The last time he went more than 2 years without a $400 million earner was before he joined Fast and Furious and became a star that could draw in that much business. Furthermore, 4 out of 5 movies he starred in before Jungle Cruise hit that benchmark, with Skyscraper's $300 million the lone exception, and that was still enough to be profitable. So you have all the movies right here, and you can see it's just his box office performance has just been consistently stagnant around $200 million to $390 million, right? After looking over Dwayne Johnson's recent box office run, I'm quite surprised that Amazon Studios would take the bet on Red One as a theatrical release. This could have made sense when Johnson was still at the peak of his powers. A Christmas-set action movie blockbuster co-starring Chris Evans and re-teaming Johnson with Jumanji's movie director Jake Kasdan sounds like a win on paper. I know I was excited for it when it was first announced. However, the trailers have been less than encouraging, as have the behind-the-scenes reports and multiple delays. What is truly puzzling about Amazon's Red One's release plan is that they had an easy way to avoid the movie being viewed as a potential box office flop. The original plan for the film was to give it an exclusive streaming release on Prime Video in 2023. I have no doubt that Red One would have been a huge hit on Prime Video, as families could watch it together around the holidays. There is now a bet on Johnson drawing millions of people to theaters instead. That's a risky move to make, considering how Johnson's last few movies have performed. Oh, let's not also forget, he was in Red Notice. Red Notice, the comedy movie with Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds. Trash. Another trash movie. Oh my god. What is it? Red One and Red Notice bombing at the box office. 2 movies in the red. Okay. Somehow, Red One's outlook has only gotten worse over time too. This largely stems from reports that Red One's budget is $250 million, if not higher, after various delays. I wouldn't be that concerned about the cost if the movie was still going straight to Prime Video, as massive budgets for star-studded streaming action movies are somewhat normal now. Well, even if it went straight to streaming, it's still, like, the studio makes nothing from that, because they're banking on the fact that more people are going to subscribe to Prime Video to make up that box office number. And I haven't checked Prime Video subs in a while, but, you know, most people that have Prime Video are having it because of Amazon's free shipping. I have it for free shipping too. But now that Red One is going to theaters, its box office will be judged on its own merits without any grace for whatever value the film's performance on Prime Video later on has for the studio. And even when it does drop on Prime Video, that means nothing. You know how, like, a lot of these guys would be like, well, the movie made so much like numbers on a streaming service. It means nothing. It really just means nothing. If the number of subscribers didn't go up from that movie, or it didn't have consistent viewership, it just means nothing. This means that Red One needs to make at least $500 million at the box office for anyone to realistically call the movie a financial success for Johnson or Amazon. It is commonly said that a movie needs to double its budget to break even, while anything significantly more makes it profitable. I'd completely understand Amazon thinking Red One could make that money in theaters if it was coming out between 2013 and 2019. But since we're in 2024 and Johnson is in a slump, the $250 million production seems likely to become a significant box office bomb. Dwayne Johnson's only movies to make $500 million or more are Moana, his Jumanji movies, and all his Fast and Furious movie appearances. If Red One crashes and burns at the box office, like I suspect, the sting for Dwayne Johnson will be significant. The only good news for him is that it won't have to last long. That's because he already has a surefire box office hit lined up to release only 2 weeks later. Dwayne Johnson is all but guaranteed to have a huge box office success on his hands when Moana 2 releases on November 27, 2024. And even that isn't really guaranteed either. I know the other one did actually pretty well from the numbers that I saw, but we are not in the same, like, Disney landscape that we were in back in 2016, where people went out to the theaters and actively supported Disney. We're not in that box office landscape anymore. To say that Moana 2 is going to be a sure thing, even if Red One fails, that's unlikely. It's actually more likely that Red One performs better than Moana 2, given the recent track record of Disney movies, right? The first movie remains one of the highest grossing films, and its popularity has grown over the years on Disney+. Moana 2 is surely going to continue Disney's dominance at the box office in 2024. I mean, I'll check that myself. I don't think they've been that good. That's great news for Dwayne Johnson, as it can help quickly ease Red One's performance from headlines as he keeps the focus on how well the Moana sequel does. And then we're going to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score for Red One. This movie has a 36% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and we're just going to read some of the reviews for this movie. For this Wendy Lee Zaney, it's fun and offers a fresh take on A Christmas Tale. Love the world building around the mythical world and the banter between Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans. Okay, that's pretty fair. So this might be one of those like random, just like turn off your brain kind of movies. Like it's so bad it's good kind of movies. I do hope I can have the free time to go to the theaters and watch it. Robert Colgier says, solid ideas, twisting mythology is a decent starting point, but relying on excessive, hideous CGI, laughably asinine, self-serious tone, and charisma-zapped Evans and Johansson duo. This is as disastrous as a flying sled crashing into some poor bastard's home. Oh my god. Audie Henderson, despite all the mythical creatures and goofy comedic special effects, Red One is less fun than it should be. Any warm and fuzzy feelings generated by the film are immediately interrupted by an action sequence. Also, Joker 2, where serious moment, then bam, fucking song. Jared Jones, we can all use a reaffirming message this holiday season, but this stuffs stockings with a little more than hot air. I'd have preferred some coal. There's at least a use for that. Dominic Griffin, there's a tender, wholesome story buried underneath all the unoriginal repetition, and it could have been a welcome blam for audiences living in murky times. Lee McCoy says, the most charming thing about the movie Santa Claus is only in it for about 10 minutes. It's just so thin and clumsy on story, and there's no warm and creamy holiday center like a lot of the classics. What a waste. M. N. Miller says, The Rock is back with Red One, a film so relentlessly lackluster and uninspired that I wondered if it was a cruel holiday prank meant to ruin our Christmas spirit. Okay, this movie's actually getting just straight up demolished by these guys. So they're probably hoping that the general going movie audience is gonna love this movie more than critics. And generally speaking, unless these kind of like popcorn movies are generally well constructed story-wise and narrative-wise and pacing-wise, they don't always land with critics anyway. So hopefully the general audience will be a lot more kind to Red One coming out this week. Red One's budget and box office explained how much it needs to make. The Christmas season is already kicking off on the big screen, and one of the biggest holiday projects this year is Red One, but due to its budget, it has to perform big at the box office to succeed. 2024 will have an interesting variety of Christmas movies coming to theaters and streaming, and one of the biggest ones in terms of production and cast is Red One. Directed by Jake Kasdan, Red One brings together Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans, and J.K. Simmons for an action story set on Christmas Eve. Red One follows Callum Drift, head of Santa Claus's security, who has requested to retire after this year's Christmas run. However, on Christmas Eve, Santa Claus is kidnapped, and it's up to him to Callum to find and rescue him. Callum is forced to team up with Jack O'Malley, a skilled mercenary hacker who has key information that could lead them to Santa and his keeper. At the time of writing, Red One has received negative reviews, and in terms of box office, it has to reach a number to be a success. Well, no shit. Like this part, it has to reach a high number. No fucking shit, Sherlock. Okay. The story of Red One was conceived by producer Hiram Garcia, with the screenplay written by Chris Morgan. Filming began in October 2022 and ended in February 2023 with a budget of $200 million. However, recent reports about the production of Red One have revealed that there were on-set issues with Johnson that ended up increasing the movie's budget. The report, shared by The Wrap, claims Johnson was on average 7 to 8 hours late to set every day, and there were days where he didn't even show up at all. This is reportedly due to Johnson's refusal to work more than 5 hours a day, and it isn't an issue exclusive to Red One. In addition to that, the alleged ineptitude of Garcia as a producer also contributed to Red One's budget going higher. Johnson's tardiness resulted in an extra $50 million being added to Red One's budget, elevating it to $250 million. Not only are those reports a bad look for Johnson and Red One, but they also make its box office performance a bigger challenge as it has to reach a higher number to break even. Yeah, this movie, to breaking even, is the $500 million mark. Profit is around $800 million if you're asking me. With Red One's budget now around $250 million, it means that it needs to make at least $500 million at the box office to break even. Not profit, break even, which means you still haven't profited for the studio yet, and be a success. The problem is that it's not doing well with critics. At the time of writing, Red One has a 32% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is 36% right now, with critics finding that it lacks holiday magic. That has an uneven plot and tone, and that the emotional parts of the story feel forced. However, Red One could gain some popularity with general audiences once it comes out, allowing it to reach the $500 million mark. Of course, this is only about box office performance and success, as Red One could end up finding its audience later on. It won't matter. I know these guys love saying this. It doesn't matter if a movie finds its audience later on. It needs to make money right now when it drops. If this movie does not do well at the box office within about 2 weeks, they're going to put that on streaming. We've seen big blockbuster tentpoles automatically, if they don't do well with momentum and having a big showing opening weekend as far as number wise, the studio, if week 2 happens and it's very similar and there's no actual like big shift in box office numbers, the studios just throw it straight to streaming. We know where this movie's going to go. More often than not, movies that didn't perform well in theaters end up becoming a success on streaming months later. Red One could have that same fate, but even if it becomes a hit in a couple of months or weeks, depending on its box office performance, that won't change its box office numbers. Yeah, because people always say that. They're like, well, it did well on streaming. Like, that fucking means nothing. More often than not, movies that didn't perform well in theaters end up becoming a success on streaming. And that really just does depend. All right, so now we're at opening weekend for this movie. What is the target for Dwayne Johnson's Red One? And it's coming in at $30 million. Well below projections. If your movie has a budget of roughly $250 million, that means your movie, to even do well opening weekend, this is also counting international, you need an actual domestic box office haul of like $80 to $90 million, and that international box office would probably be about the same, honestly. Dwayne Johnson's Red One targets $30 million box office bounty. Will Red One, a Christmas action comedy where Dwayne Johnson plays Santa's head of security, bring movie theaters a box office bounty? The film from Amazon MGM is targeting $30 million to $35 million from 4,032 locations. In its first weekend of release, independent tracking services are mixed, suggesting that Red One could earn as little as $25 million and as much as $40 million in its debut. Oh, it's going to completely flop domestically. Internationally, the movie could get saved, like Venom: The Last Dance, but we'll have to see about that. Ticket sales on the higher end of that range would be decent for an original holiday film. However, Red One cost $250 million before accounting for global marketing efforts. So either way, the movie will need positive word of mouth and portend a long life in theaters and justify its costs. Of course, Amazon MGM cares about much more than box office grosses and maintains that its big budget tentpoles don't need to score on the big screen to be deemed a success. That's all just cope. Any business that says that's coping. That's such a lie. That's such bullshit. The streaming behemoth views movie theaters as a way to lure top talent to projects as well as generate buzz for the streaming service Prime Video. They could literally just lure talent to work with them because they're offering them literally buttloads of cash. That's stupid. However, viewership data from streamers aren't reported as uniformly as box office returns. Yes, studios don't even report accurate numbers most of the time, or if they are, then stuff is really failing. So it's impossible to determine if the financial gamble ever pays off. Yeah, like, you hear this all the time. Well, this movie did well on streaming. Well, what's the numbers? They never tell you. They said it's just a streaming hit. I mean, they have to tell you it's a streaming hit because they want more people to subscribe to their streaming services. In the case of Red One, the film was commissioned for streaming before Amazon MGM opted to bring it to theaters, so any box office returns will be a bonus for the studio and exhibitors. This is also a lie from them. You want to know why? Because this movie is already going to be in the red immediately. Throwing it on a streaming service keeps it in the red. It doesn't gain you. I mean, the movie would have to bring in so many subscribers to be a success for a streaming service, like actively new subscribers, right? Oh my god, that's just cope out the ass. Red One already kicked off at the international box office with a meager $28 million from 25,195 screens across 75 overseas markets. Warner Brothers is rolling out the film in overseas markets as a part of a distribution deal with Amazon GM. Oh my god. Jeez, cry. Yeah, and here's the average description of the movie. Variety's chief film critic Owen Gilberman describing the movie as having charmless energy. In his review, Gilberman wrote that he's not sure that a Hollywood movie has ever kicked off the season with less true Christmas spirit. And that's going to be the biggest nail in the coffin for this movie, because if that's the common sentiment for the movie, is that it lacks Christmas spirit and a Christmas feel, once people know that and they've experienced the movie for themselves, they're going to tell everybody and it's going to completely flop. Yeah. As this weekend's only new release, Red One will certainly top the domestic box office over three-time champ Venom: The Last Dance. Could it? I mean, it's not looking like it will. Sony's comic book sequel was #1 over the weekend with $15.9 million. It has grossed $114 million domestically and $393 million globally to date. That's not good. That's not good for Venom 3. You know, week 1 was optimistic, and you guys before this will have already seen my other Venom 3 video. That's looking like a massive flop to me. Other prominent holdover titles include the Focus Features drama Conclave, Universal and DreamWorks Animation's The Wild Robot, A24's horror thriller Heretic, and Lionsgate's faith-based The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Heretic already bombed. The Wild Robot's doing steadily okay at the box office. After a lackluster October and a soft start to November, overall box office returns remain down over 11% from 2023 and nearly 27% from 2019, according to ComScore. Attendance is expected to pick up around Thanksgiving when a trio of blockbuster hopefuls, Wicked, Gladiator 2, and Moana, grace the big screen and hopefully give the movie theater owners a lot for which to be thankful. So, Gladiator 2, and oh god, man, like, holy shit, where do you even start? So, all that nonsense that Amazon was saying is bullshit. That's just such cope out the ass. I hope the movies coming out do well for theater owners. I really do. But if these movies, like I've mentioned before in past videos, I've always did this, word of mouth matters way more for these movies compared to back in the day. And I'm not saying it never mattered. I'm saying that now, given the fact that people don't have as much disposable income to go to the theaters, they really gotta know if a movie's good just based off word of mouth alone. And if word of mouth gets out that just Red One is not good and doesn't even have a Christmas feel to it, and it's a movie not even getting released in Christmas, it's coming out like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. And Dwayne Johnson's box office streak has been very bad. I'm gonna go see it if I have the free time, but it's looking like it's gonna be a fail, man. Like, just from numbers alone, $40 million domestically would be awful. Like, bad. So if this movie only takes in like $50 million or $60 million opening weekend from international and domestic, that's awful. That's bad. Yeah, you see right here, that's the worldwide total right now, but it's only just international. But domestic box office is where it's going to potentially struggle at. Even Venom 3 didn't have a good domestic week 1. Could the movie pick up, with weeks to come? Potentially. I think they'll leave this movie in theaters for a little bit of time, but even with the movie staying in theaters, since there's so many other bigger releases come out, if this one doesn't hit when it does, there's likely a chance it's not going to ever pick up that momentum ever again, because usually when a new movie like this drops, it only has a momentum because it's the newest thing out at the moment in time, and then we'll only keep that based off word of mouth and box office numbers going up, which would show that. So do you guys think Red One will be a profitable success for the studio? Do you guys think this movie will snap Dwayne Johnson's box office streaks of failures? So thank you guys for checking out this video. If you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video or go live. And I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, and I'm signing out, guys. See you guys later. Deuces. Peace.